Salida, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim and welcome to the Sounds German review for the new Downfall of Gaia album, Ethic of Radical Finitude. This might also be the first review I do for a band with a mixed nationality, with this band not only having German members, but also being partially from the States, which might also partially be the reason why the band has done some more international touring over its years. To me, Downfall of Gaia was one of those bands I feel I knew existed for many years now, but somehow I never got around to actively listen to them. I remember them being described as crustcore or sludge, which might have also maybe kept me away a bit in the past, because those are not really genres I'm into deep. But I'm glad I gave Ethic of Radical Finitude a chance now, because I found it to be really enjoyable. While I can't speak for their past outputs, this album feels like a pretty straight post-black metal record to me, at least as straight as that genre description goes, with certain parts reminding me a lot of Agribni, especially the album Eta Cineres. Mostly this shone through in the breaks the band plays in some tracks, like in We Pursue the Serpent of Time. You have these fast and driving riffs, the drums punching on relentlessly in the background, and some brutal voice work, and then suddenly it kinda fizzles out, almost like the song is ending. But instead of being over, you get some marching-like drumming that lingers in the background now, clean and calm picks on the guitar take the spotlight, and they even sprinkle in some Glockenspiel. And then, within seconds, the guitars introduce the next hard, thrashing part with a short screech and the speed picks up instantly again. I also found Downfall to Gaia to combine elements of both worlds here quite often, which I really enjoyed. Like in the grotesque illusion of being, you have blast beats and hard drumming dictating the pace, but also almost dreamlike riffing laid over it. It almost sounds like elements of two different songs were mixed together here, something that you will find more than once on this album, and it creates a pretty interesting atmosphere with brutality and harshness on one side and almost shoegaze-like relaxation on the other. That said, I feel the album sometimes drags on a bit. You have, for example, the intro track, which is almost 3 minutes long, but pretty much nothing happens in it, and I feel the atmospheric build-up could have been done far faster and as part of the first real song. Or the end of Guided Through a Starless Night, where the last third of the song, over 3 minutes, are just these super stretched out distant guitars and a woman speaking very calmly. And I mean that, it's not even singing, just speaking. I actually really liked this part at first, but then it felt like it simply wouldn't end. 3.5 minutes doesn't sound like that much on paper, but consider it's nearly 10% of the whole playtime of this album. And even ignoring that, the part is simply far too long for the little amount of things that are happening within it. Luckily though, that is not an effect I ever had while the actual music was going on, for lack of a better phrase here. In true black metal fashion, Downfall to Gaia lull you into a dark and somber atmosphere that is brutal, sorrowful and lonely in its presentation through repetition. The compositions feel almost carefully crafted, as do the various styles that flow together on this record. All of the single elements of this album come together perfectly in the closing track of Withering Violet Leaves. You have a slow and atmospheric build-up, you get the clean guitars and restrained drums in the first part that pick up more and more speed and intensity. It keeps on getting noticeably harder and faster as the song progresses, and the track is almost over before even the first vocals kick in. At first you get the brutal screaming, something that is present on most of the rest of the album too, but the screams are quickly superseded by deep and calm chanting, something I wish would have been more present on the album as a contrast, and even the spoken female vocals do make a return here. And unlike on Guided Through a Starless Night, it also feels perfectly timed here, like a nice ending to the song and not something that goes on forever. The vocals are somewhere between violent, exhausted and absolutely ghoulish, sounding most of the time as if the vocalist was spitting blood while performing in the booth and then just kept going. It's another element that adds to the more violent and brutal parts of the atmosphere, sometimes being so rough and blood-curdlingly exhausted that you can't even be sure if it's spoken words or just painful wheezing you are hearing here. As I said before, I would have loved to see some more of the chanting present in the closing track, or really any other kind of singing for that matter, but the vocal work adds in a painfully beautiful way to the songs. But all those things really can't put much of a damper on the quality of this album. It's just dripping with atmosphere that is somehow close to a true black metal disc, but at the same time far away from it due to its production style. Black metal purists will probably just sneer at the notion, but make no mistake, there is a cold and black heart beating in the chest of this album. So, as a conclusion, Ethic of Radical Finitude is an incredibly well-made album. Brutal, fast parts on the one hand, calm and relaxing elements on the other, and those build a dark and moody roller coaster of an album together. And while there were things I disliked, those things were simply not enough to drag the album down for me. It probably won't be an album of the year candidate for me in the end, seeing how it doesn't feel like something groundbreakingly new or something I haven't heard before even, but it's a very fine addition to the discography of the band and any fan's collection. So, I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, leave a like for the video or just subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and want more reviews for bands and artists you have probably never heard of before. If you have listened to the album, let me know with a comment what you thought about it, and if you want to check it out now, you can find all the relevant links in the description below. You can also find my social media accounts linked there. If you want to check out some random music, I do post at least one music video per day there. Thank you very much for watching, I hope to see you again next time. Have a nice day, Salida.